Hello, everyone. The topic I've chose for this week is Laurel Thatcher Ulrich's John Winthrop's City of Women. And the reason why I have chosen this topic is just like anything else pertaining to America's past regarding Christianity, especially when it comes to the treatment of women or Native Americans or even African Americans, sometimes we try to overgeneralize and make it seem like it was all bad. And in this particular article, one of the points that is made by Ulrich is there were, situations to where, it could seem, if you judge, through the modern lens, comparing their time to what we think is normal now, or a lot of people think is normal now, it could seem that way. But women, the overgeneralization is that women at that time had no agency in their lives, or they were just obedient and totally almost cast down into their an inferior role. But a lot of women back then didn't see it that way. They didn't see their role as inferior. First of all, a lot of women were very happy, and we have some personal first-hand accounts from literature or journals or other documents, such as the literature from Anne Bradstreet and Sarah Goodhue, and people like that, who the limited material that we do have suggests something else. And just like anything else, when we overgeneralize and just say, oh, well, it was Christianity in Puritan Massachusetts, they were rigid, the women didn't have a life, they were miserable. But when you actually, and that's lazy scholarship. That's lazy historical research, and it paints a very unclear and not a holistic picture of life back then. And typically, it's depicted that way for reasons. Now, when people say these things, usually they're politically motivated, they scorn Christianity, and sometimes we don't always give tender topics like this a holistic look. We'll just simply want to judge them and make these comments. But there were women who challenged their roles from the very beginning. Obviously, you're going to be thinking about people like Anne Hutchinson and the antinomianism. Even men did as well. Roger Williams in Rhode Island. The Quakers, Baptists. There were even these women and men together, made John Winthrop and the Puritan old guards, they made them consider change in some ways. Maybe it was loosening up church membership or requirements, like we saw with the halfway covenant, or tolerating women's meetings, during the weeks, when they would have Bible studies and things like that. And the way Anne Hutchinson was able to frame some of her arguments. Now, the biggest problem that she really made was when she said she heard God talking to her directly. That's what a lot of people thought was too far. So women did challenge in some typical cultural roles for women at the time. They weren't all just, obedient servants to men. Some of them were involved in changes and more inclusive things for people at that time. And that's what a lot of people don't give Christianity in America credit for, whether it was the First Great Awakening all the way through Charles Grandison Finney and the Second Great Awakening, just like this. And this is a point that Miss Ulrich was trying to make, and other scholarly material that I've listed here made as well, is that's too narrow to just say that all women were just subjugated and oppressed. So women certainly, and Christianity, just like in this time and this aspect throughout our history, was involved in progressive change. But, some women didn't consider themselves subjugated. They enjoyed their role as homemakers. They enjoyed the leisure time they had to take care of their kids. They didn't see it as second rate. They saw it as very important. Women enjoyed art and literature, primarily reflecting the scriptures, and such as Anne Bradstreet at the time, like I had mentioned earlier. So this is most modern history, especially secular history, really gives this a narrow viewpoint, vantage point. It's historically dishonest, and hopefully this short discussion of Puritan women, as far as John Winthrop's Massachusetts Bay, hopefully this conversation will give us, at least to get the ball rolling, a little bit more of a fair and thorough examination of this period, to show that, number one, it's unfair to view and judge something that long ago through our lens, and it's also unfair to not holistically look and give fair research and an open mind to a period that's often just kind of totally overgeneralized and discarded by modern secular history as just narrow-minded, oppressive, rigid Puritan Christianity.